Good evening, Internet. Welcome back. My name is This is Aldous. Say hi, Aldous. Aldous says hi. This is the first and possibly last reviews. I've wanted to talk about Alien Romulus since I saw the trailer for it way back when I was first starting up the channel. I'm a big Aliens fan. I have liked it probably since I was too young to enjoy it, but still I've enjoyed it. I don't know what my throat is doing right now. Every so often I go to speak and it just kind of catches in my throat and I'm not sure why. So if you hear that happening, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. But yeah, I wanted to talk about Alien Romulus. I went and saw it at the Regal, right up the road from me. I thought that it was very good. It's a very good movie. I haven't been back to the theater in a while, partly because of COVID, partly just because I haven't wanted to go out into public. I much prefer to just watch movies at home or to watch movies with Stephanie on her couch. And so going out to the theater has kind of been why would I go and do that? But I wanted to see Alien Romulus in theaters. I want to take a small aside here and have a little millennial rant. There are way too many ads before movies in theater today. I went and saw the 6 o'clock screening, got there a few minutes early. At 6 o'clock, they lowered the lights a little bit, and then they played 24 minutes of ads. About half of that was ads for products, so drink products or things that you can buy, things that you can get in the concession stand, and then the rest of them were trailers for films. 24 minutes is way too long to be waiting for the movie to start. I was reading one of the people that I follow on Mastodon recently pointed out that television shows used to be cigarette commercials. That was the device that the cigarette companies used to put cigarette commercials in front of people. And then, as people started falling in love with the actual TV shows, with the Beverly Hillbillies, with the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, whatever they were watching at the time, they started taking the ads out and selling the product by itself. So we kind of think about television shows as their own product, but Hollywood still views them as the vehicle to put ads in front of people. When you go to see a movie in theaters and there are 24 minutes of ads before the movie, that's what it really feels like, is Hollywood sees the movie as a vehicle to put products in front of you. It really sucks. I didn't enjoy it. I really wish that there were fewer ads. I really wish that the ads were better. Stephanie and I talk a lot about how ads are getting worse over time. So there are ads today where you watch the ad and then you're not entirely sure what the product is until you get to the end of it and it shows it off. So we'll sometimes be watching an ad and there are people dancing and you're well, is it a clothing commercial? Is it a cologne commercial? Is it a commercial for athletics? What is it? And you don't know until you get to the end of it. So ads are getting worse and they're too long and it just feels really too much. Yeah. I don't have a solution for this other than, smash capitalism. But I just wanted to go on the small rant because as a millennial, as a 34-year-old, way too many ads in front of movies. Alien Romulus. So I don't want to give spoilers, but I do want to kind of go into what the concept is because I think that it's an interesting concept. So the opening scene picks up right where Alien left off. There's a Weyland-Yutani space station that sends out a probe to the wreckage of the Nostromo. Direct sequel to Alien. They pick up the xenomorph, which was frozen when it was ejected from the spaceship. It's in this rock ice kind of mold. They use a mining drill to get it out. They take it into the space station. Cut to the title screen. The protagonist of the movie is Rain Carradine. She is an orphan. Her parents were miners on this mining colony owned by Weyland-Yutani. She has done her quota. She has done 12,000 hours for the company. She is ready to get transferred to a place that is not a mining colony, a place that you can see the sun, a place where her and her synthetic brother can be like alone and be themselves and not have to worry about like people attacking them on the street or people trying to play 3-card Monte with them. Like they are really gung-ho about getting to this paradise. And she's done her time, like she's earned this, she's ready to go. And the Weyland-Yutani like representative says, yeah, you put in 12,000 hours, but we're kind of short on labor, so let's make it 24,000. Come back again in 5 to 10 years. So that's super unfair, like super unfair to her. That's super unfair to her synthetic brother. Space hypercapitalism, all of that. So her and a bunch of her orphan friends all get together and they discover that there is this space station from the beginning of the film. It is apparently derelict. It is apparently decommissioned. They are going to go up to it. They're going to get these cryo modules. They're going to put it on their mining spaceship. They're going to crawl inside, be put to sleep, and then they're going to take the 9-year voyage out to this paradise that they've all thought about. So that's kind of the concept of the movie. Of course, when they get up to the space station, they find out that the xenomorph from the beginning of the movie has been running amok. All hell kind of breaks loose. So there's a synthetic on the space station who's the same model as Ash from the original movie, but it's not actually Ash. It's not. It's Rook, who's just the same model as Ash, but it's played by a 3D model of Sir Ian Holm. And I believe that they used AI voice generation to do his voice. I'd only heard about that a couple days ago, and it really soured me on the movie. It made me not want to see it, knowing that they had modeled Sir Ian Holm and used an AI generation to do his voice. I think that it would have been a lot better if they had used another actor who looked like Sir Ian Holm, or like used another model that looked like Lance Henriksen. If they had used like another model who looked like Sir Ian Holm or another model who looked like Lance Henriksen, that would have been a lot more like respectful. It would have been a lot more like impactful. I don't see why they used a 3D model of this character. It feels a lot like Rogue One, where they used Grand Moff Tarkin and they de-aged Carrie Fisher, and they've got those like kind of dead, glassy eyes. It falls into the uncanny valley. In this movie, it makes sense because he's an android and he is like broken in half. So it does give that uncanny valley like feeling, and I think that that's intentional. But it would be like so much better if it was not a 3D model of Sir Ian Holm. So Alien Romulus, it kind of acts as like a bridge between the Prometheus Alien Covenant universe and the Aliens universe. About halfway through, the Ash character, Rook, he reveals that he has extracted the black ooze from one of the aliens, from one of the xenomorphs, or from one of the eggs. I can't remember. But he's extracted the black ooze from the Prometheus films. And he wants to use it to kind of like push humanity's evolution forward, so that they can like mine better. They can be out in space. Like they can do a lot more if they have like the ultimate survivors DNA injected into them. So from then on, it kind of becomes like Act 1 is like a direct Alien sequel. And then Act 2 is kind of like a direct link to Aliens. And then Act 3 is kind of like its own horror movie. So it kind of like bridges the gap between these two like different disparate franchises that they have going on. And I think it does a really good job of that. Like the script is really solid. It's a more like coherent movie than Prometheus was. The characters are sometimes doing stupid things, but they're kids in like a stressful situation. It's a really intense situation. Everything is fucked up. Like, what are they going to do? They're kids. And so they kind of like act in their own interest, and it's a lot more coherent than Prometheus is, just because you have like the characters acting on what they want to do and acting on their fears and acting on their impulses. Ooh, this video is going to be hell to cut just because I'm coughing so much. So it kind of bridges the gap between the two franchises, which I liked. I think that it does a good job of like being its own thing. I don't think that it works as like the first movie that you see, because it's so like dependent on Alien, because it's so dependent on Prometheus. I think if you watched it as your first Alien movie, you would just be like, I don't see what the big deal is. So I can't like speak to that, but like if you are seeing this as your first Alien movie, please go back and watch Alien and Aliens. Those are the two that you need to watch. If you watch nothing else, go back and watch those two. Kind of the subtext of Alien Romulus is hyperspace capitalism embodied by Weyland-Yutani. Just corrupts everything. And that's actually like literalized on screen at one point, where Weyland-Yutani like experiments cause like a corrupt growth. It's a really just straightforward metaphor. Not a whole lot of like digging that you need to do with that. It also puts Weyland-Yutani and hyperspace capitalism kind of at odds with the unfathomable, the unknown of the universe at large, embodied by the xenomorph, embodied by the black ooze. And so that kind of is the overarching conflict of the movie, is that you have hyperspace capitalism, which is forcing people to do these things. It's getting inside people's heads as it gets inside the head of the synthetic brother. And you also have like this unfathomable, unknowable thing from space, the xenomorph. And they're kind of like forces of nature that the characters are kind of reacting to. And so that's kind of like the major conflict. It's like characters are being caught in a storm, and you have to watch them figure out how they're going to get out of the storm. There were a few scenes that were kind of silly. There's one scene where she's like in zero gravity and she has to dodge what's it called? The acid blood of the alien. It's kind of silly. It's never as silly as like Alien Resurrection, but it is very silly. It looks silly. It doesn't work as like a escalating stakes scene. Aside from that one, it does do a very good job of capturing the escalating stakes of Alien and Aliens. There's always a ticking clock. There's always like, whenever they get out of one situation, there's something else waiting for them. It does a good job of like raising the stakes and keeping the action going without ever getting too ridiculous. There are just those like few moments where like it is very ridiculous. Kind of one thing that I didn't like about it is that it's kind of dependent on these two British assholes near the end or near the beginning of the film. If the two British asshole characters weren't there, the movie kind of falls apart because there's nothing really there to keep the things moving. Once you get past that, it kind of like sets its own pace, which is really good. But the two British assholes kind of, it's a little bit funny. I do enjoy it, but it kind of like holds the movie back from being like S tier. You never want your inciting incident to be dependent on two British assholes. I don't want to spoil the third act of the film, but it is really good and you should see it. I really like it. I really like the homages that it pays towards Alien and Aliens, and even Alien Resurrection and the Alien Covenant. There's so many like homages to the different movies. There are direct visual homages. There's one scene where there's like a laser going across the floor, and there's smoke rising out of the grate under the floor, and it looks just like the scene from Alien where they're going to explore the wreckage with the engineer. And there's a scene where one of the characters is in a hallway and there's a yellow flashing light. It's direct visual homage to the second movie where like Ellen Ripley is trying to get out of the station before it explodes, and that yellow light is just going off. Kind of in the same way that like that one Doctor Who episode where the space station is caught in the gravity of like a dying star. They do a lot of set work that directly visually homages those movies. And then in the writing, they do a lot of homages to the different movies. A lot of homages, a lot of references. It does pay like a lot of respect to the other films in the series, except for Alien 3 for some reason. I don't know if Fede Alvarez doesn't like David Fincher or what, but it does pay a lot of respect to the other movies in the franchise, which is really cool. I'm kind of bored of the android storylines. It feels like Michael Fassbender's David really explored everything there is to explore of the androids outside of Alien and Aliens. Like I was talking about Sir Ian Holm and Lance Henriksen. They just did so much like with the different dynamics that they were given. Andy in this movie does a great job, great acting. He is, let's talk about ableism. Andy in this movie is coded as an autistic character before he gets upgraded. And so there's this weird thing where he gets upgraded and then he's suddenly not autistic anymore. It's very strange subtext. Like as an android, as a synthetic in this movie, when he's like at his base level, he's coded as autistic, and then he is upgraded later in the movie and he's no longer autistic. It's very weird subtext. Especially as like someone who works with people with intellectual disabilities. Very strange seeing him go from autistic coded to upgraded to kind of like a supercomputer and then back to autistic coded. Very strange subtext. I don't want to dig too deep into it. I don't think that I'm qualified for that. But it did have like that weird subtext. I never saw it. I heard that the latest Predators movie had an autistic character who was kind of, it was implied that the autistic character was kind of a step forward in evolution or something like that. Very strange subtext. I'm not sure why horror movies are doing this. I want to blame Cube for like starting all of this, but I could be wrong about that. But yeah, it was weird to see it in the movie and kind of follow that trend and kind of wonder about like, is that subtext? Like, is that something that Fede Alvarez and the writers just didn't think about, or did they mean it to come that way? Or is it like an exploration of that? I don't know. I don't know. Something that I was thinking about while I was watching the movie is the scene in Prometheus where Idris Elba's character is like, do you know where we are? We're on a military base. Like, these are weapons and these are experimental weapons. And that's why everything is happening the way it is. And how that was such a leap of logic within the movie. It's supposed to be like he's deducting it, kind of like a detective, kind of like, you know, Luther, like, who he played on TV. But it kind of like comes out of nowhere. It's not like he's down there seeing the different pieces and putting it all together in his head. He just kind of knows that it's a military base. And he just kind of says that. In this movie, there aren't really those leaps of logic. It's much more grounded in the conflict between Weyland-Yutani and the xenomorphs and the xenomorph programming. And I think that I already said earlier, but I think that it's more coherent in this movie than it was in Prometheus. And that plays to Alien Romulus's credit. I know that Disney was originally planning to release this as like a straight to Hulu movie, and I'm glad that they didn't. I'm glad that they did the theatrical release. I think that it looks so much better in theater. The sound mixing is sometimes a little bit bothersome because like it feels like the voices, especially when the British assholes are talking, it feels like the voices are at like much different levels than the ambient noise. But the actual like film itself, the visuals and the sound and everything comes together really well on the theater screen. So I'm glad that it was a theatrical cut and not a straight to Hulu cut. I'm trying to think if I have any like closing remarks about it. I do think that it's very good. I do think that you should see it. I think that you should definitely like consider it to be part of the Alien franchise and kind of like a bridge between different disparate parts of the Alien franchise. I saw that May Leitz in her video, she called it a disappointment. I guess if you're expecting it to be on the same level as the original Ridley Scott Alien or James Cameron Aliens, it could come off as a disappointment. However, if you're just seeing it as like a bridge of all the disparate parts of the Alien series, I think you're really going to enjoy it. Something that I'm thinking about is like in the age of remakes and sequels, it really feels like it does a good job of taking the different parts and remixing them into something new, which I think is something that's really important in the modern like zeitgeist of remakes and sequels. It does a really good job of like taking the disparate elements and putting them into something coherent in the way that something like Prometheus or Alien Covenant doesn't. So yeah, I recommend it. I think that it is good. I don't think that it's as good as Ridley Scott's Alien or James Cameron's Aliens, but I do think that it belongs in the same series, in the same franchise, and I think that you should go see it. So those are my thoughts. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you disagree. Let me know if you saw it, if you didn't see it. Tell me if you like this format. If you want to see more reviews, let me know, and I can do that occasionally. I don't go out to the movies very often, so this would give me an excuse to go out to the movies. So yeah. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. I hope that you guys like Aldous. He's going to be around for a while. Yeah, I'm going to get out of here. I love you guys. Thank you for joining me for another night of reviews. Wait, thank you for joining me for the first review of many. Wait, thank you for joining me. I love you. Have a good night, and I will see you in the next video.